Blazblue Cross Tag Battle. Regardless of your opinion on BBTAG in the current day and age, it can be agreed that whenever the game was initially announced, there was a lot of speculation of which franchises and characters would be seen in the game at launch and during its lifetime. BlazBlue, Persona, Undernight, and Ruby were all announced to be in the game, and everyone anticipating the game's release had a favorite character, or 2 or 3 from those franchises that they wanted to see in the game. But with so many different storylines coming together, how would the story possibly go for BBTAG? Especially since the BlazBlue franchise had already concluded its own story. Because of this question, many people took to the internet to create their own versions of what they thought the story would eventually look like, or what they thought it could possibly look like. Conversations like this can be found on forums like Reddit, but while doing a brief Google search on BBTAG to learn more about pre-release expectations for absolutely no reason whatsoever one night, I came across a goldmine of BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle headcanons, combat breakdowns, crossovers, quizzes, and so much more that now you have to know this information with me. What did I find? I found the BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle Wattpad. So just a couple of things that we need to cover before we get started. First and foremost, what is Wattpad? Wattpad is a website dedicated to allowing authors of any skill level to pursue their passion projects with storytelling. It's a website primarily used for reading and writing stories. That being said, it's also built up quite a reputation in the world of fan fiction, okay? Now, what is fan fiction? Fan fiction is a hobby where authors can create new adventures, storylines, and scenarios for familiar characters. If you're coming across this video and you press this one, with the title and the thumbnail, you know what this is. What is BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle? Of course, BBTAG is a 2D crossover fighting game developed by Arc System Works, featuring characters from different franchises like BlazBlue, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Undernight Inbirth, and Ruby, releasing in 2018. And how relevant is this to today? Final point. I met a lot of my audience because of me pursuing my passion for fighting games fostered specifically by BBTAG. And this seems like a funny time, and I think it will be funny. God, I hope this is fun. Whenever it comes to the BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle Wattpad collection of fanfiction, there are actually quite a few genres to go through, and quite a few gems that I discovered, but we're not gonna get into all of those today. I'm gonna spare you. Instead, today we are just gonna be looking at one specific BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle fanfiction, one specific original story that I found over on Wattpad, and I read it to some of my friends and my audience live, and now we're gonna watch that, so enjoy! For today's stream, and I really can't tell you why. I'm so sorry. I'm premeditating. I'm not even premeditating. I'm premeditatively telling you guys sorry because I know what's gonna happen during today's stream. But I'm also celebrating my 4-year Twitch anniversary. So I have something very special planned for us today because it felt fitting. I'm gonna be honest. It felt fitting. Today's stream. But I also know that it's gonna be a wild ride. Okay, so here's the dealio. I invited friends to today's stream. I invited Mega Manual. I invited Anima. You guys know them. You guys love them. Honestly, they are amazing people. And you guys have to check them out if you have not already. Okay, I'm gonna try calling them. Let me see. I have some stuff to set up that I didn't do before stream. What's up, Mega?
Hi. Man. I'm very nervous and scared as to what exactly you have in store, considering you had to apologize ahead of time.
I will apologize multiple times. That's just who I am as a person.
What have I walked into?
Can you hear that I have friends? Do you believe it?
Or are we imaginary friends again?
In terms of,
boy, do we
are you gonna cringe because of the sexual content? No, probably not. So I do think this one was very, very good for the time, especially. I'm going to give you kind of a synopsis of how they established the starting of the game, because it is a situation where you get isekai'd into the game. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They actually wake up like in a room that's covered with water on a stone floor, and there's like the floor lights up the different colors for the BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle franchises, and it lands on like the purple one, and so I think there's like more of a tie between the Undernight characters and the main character. So it's pretty interesting how they establish the character getting like isekai'd into the BBTAG universe and then their adventures from there. I found one piece in particular that combined all of the elements from above in what I am going to call a I'm going to call it a masterpiece in the BBTAG Renaissance in terms of the fanfiction world. But I did practice reading this one. Okay, so if you didn't know this about me, I struggle with reading sometimes. Yo, girl, be dyslexic. So I wanted to do my best to try to present to you the way that I think this would go. Okay, it's just got some funny moments. Okay, are y'all ready?
I'm as ready as Ragna the Skibbity.
Ragna the Skibbity.
I'm ready.
Started then. This is Freezing Fate, a Blazblue Cross Tag Battle story. Because we're reading the first chapter, I'm not going to worry about reading to you guys the bio. And we will be reading the entirety of the first chapter. So if at any point you need to take a break, please let me know.
You all are getting tested on this after. We're doing book club.
Oh my god. So, chapter 1 is called 5A. Chapter 2 is called 5B. Chapter 2 is called 5C.
Oh man, what are the odds? What are the odds?
I think that's cool.
Button in the game.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these chapters are named after, like, character moves. How much of this do you guys want me to tell you before we get into it? Or do you just want me to read it to you blindly?
Going raw.
Rip the band-aid off.
Well, somebody clip where Mega Manual said going raw. Thank you. Okay. So this is 5A. The cold evening's air pushed my hair out of my tear-stained face as I ran into the night. I needed to run as fast and as quick as possible. I didn't know if anyone was on my trail, and I didn't have any time to look behind me. My eyes were barely capable of seeing what was physically in front of me. The memory of what I had just seen played vividly over and over in my head, no matter how hard or how far I ran from the scene and into the forest. My brother laid lifeless before a familiar figure that only I would recognize, not only I would recognize, but anyone in a 5-kingdom radius could name. Prince Justin N. couldn't see my eyes peeking through a hole in the wall as he spoke the words to my brother, thinking only he could hear them. Even with the wind picking up and leaves rustling in the trees as I ran trying to escape, I could hear the memory of his sour words. Such a shame your sister were... such a shame the sister you were trying to protect from me will be the one accused of your murder, he said as a smile on his face grew only larger and more sinister. I closed my eyes for just a brief moment, trying to violently shake the image of what followed from my mind. Even with my best attempt, I could never forget seeing Edmund's eyes dull as the life left from his face. Justin N. pulled the sword from my brother's chest. Blood spattered across the room, and before the last drop had hit the floor, I darted away from my hiding place. So that's where we're starting off.
Alright, pretty solid, ominous start to it.
Yeah, so we're running from something.
Apparently, someone has accused death of a sister.
Yeah, somebody has accused death of their sister. I tripped, falling onto the ground, and held my arm briefly as I scrambled up, trying to get up to adjust my ball gown that had been stuck on a rock my knee had narrowly evaded. I quickly proceeded into the night. My oldest brother, Prince Edmund, the heir to the... Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this word, and I'm going to try my best. Congoladian throne was murdered tonight.
Whoa.
Only days before his coronation. Tonight was to be an evening of celebration. The kingdom's finest flowers, musicians, and wine had all been gathered for the kingdom's biggest ball in centuries. Now it would only go down in history as one of the kingdom's darkest days, and perhaps the last day that I were to know of my home. The sound of Congoladian soldiers on horseback grew closer as I continued running through the thick forest. I adjusted the grasp on my skirt as I tried to keep the hem from getting caught on the brush. I spotted a large tree in front of me with several large roots I knew I could hide behind, and took no time to gently make my way to the ground, instead opting to quickly throw myself against the tree. I could feel the bark scrape my arms as I hastily slid down and tried making myself as small as possible. I forced one hand over my mouth in an attempt to even further muffle the sound of my crying and to catch my own breath. The sound of galloping and shouting grew closer and closer, sounding like a snare drum before battle. But I remained unwavering and crouched beside the tree, hoping to blend into the sounds of the leaves and rustling in the cool autumn air. As if to prove the existence of God himself, it began to rain, even further masking the sounds of my weighted breath. My ball gown had taken quite a bit of wear from my sprint, but the royal blue satin still stood out from the environment. I made sure every inch of the skirt was as close to my body as possible and out of sight in case anyone was nearby to notice the hue reflect off of any puddles. I refrained from gathering the fabric again and again to minimize the amount of noise I made. The sound of soldiers got further away, but their presence already confirmed my worst worries. My brother had been murdered, and my kingdom believed I was the one to do it. I looked out into the dark night, hoping the stars would give me some consolation before the tears, but there was no such answer to my request. The tree I had been using to hide just moments before, now protecting me from the downpour. Millions of questions all came to mind at once, flooding my brain as quickly as possible, giving the volume of rain a run for its money. The loudest noise I had ever experienced flooded my mind. The loudest noise right before the silence. I couldn't go home. I couldn't return to the castle to say goodbye to any friends, gather supplies, or equip myself with anything better than I had now. My twin daggers, each strapped to a different thigh, were the only weapons I had with me, and it was only because of Edmund. Edmund had convinced me to take them with me, just in case. His advice, even now, proving to be correct. He was going to be a great king, but now fate was in someone else's hands. I wiped the tears away from my face as new ones began to stream down my cheeks. I looked down at my hands, giving up on upkeeping the downpour. I plucked off the golden engagement ring that had been calling my finger its home for well over 3 months now. I held the ring in my left hand, tracing over the sapphires carefully laid into it with my right pointer finger. The jewels still had a shine, even with the circumstance, as though to taunt me with their vibrance. The ring I held in my hand was that of a traitor. It was now a symbol of my hatred, the inability to forget, and the stubbornness to deny forgiveness. The ring I held in my hand was my engagement ring to the man who murdered my brother.
Oh, dang.
You deny that. There we go. Thank you,
That was
Autobot.
beautifully written. I'm already like.
I feel like I'm listening.
It's good,
to, like,
right?
I feel like I'm listening to like an audiobook of some kind.
I was like, is this BB Tag? Is this Blazblue Cross Tag?
Honestly, I already forgot this was a BB Tag story, and you were just reading like a different story to us completely. And I was like, all right, I'm in for the long of it.
Yeah, like I think this one is so good. That's how I was too. I started reading it, and I was like, wait, I don't know of any character in the Blazblue Cross Tag Battle like interconnections that has like a ball gown. So
I mean,
BBS? I don't know.
So to my knowledge, this is a original character at this point.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
another
pretty- yeah,
another
this
franchise
definitely
that I
is.
at least just don't know of.
this is definitely original. But honestly, this is definitely like a very interesting and enthralling start to it.
Well, I'm glad you think that. Let's keep that in mind as we keep reading, okay?
That didn't really give me much hope when you said that.
Aye, Captain. The silence remained for just a few more seconds before the sound of rain crowded all of my thoughts. Then the tears came. But at this point, I lost that last bit of control. Every fiber of my being felt as though it were being ripped apart, and my body went cold, starting with my fingertips. I could feel the chill grow as I threw myself onto my knees, looking up to the sky, calling out in a whisper that faintly resembled the no that I was trying my best to evoke from my vocal cords. The ring dropped from my fingers as I felt the cold inside of me spread from my fingertips, through my limbs and to my core. I outstretched my arms as the sensation of freezing ice enveloped my body. The night had not been so frigid before this, and the breeze even began to feel warm as it grazed my skin, that had now begun showing signs of frost. I had no capability of finding the significant, as even the thought of death itself had begun sounding like the only way to relieve my heart of the ache that I found radiating throughout. I lost my eyes, allowing the cold frost to overtake my skin. I first thought of this sensation only to be a figment of my imagination, but as it spread across my limbs and chest, it became colder, and I could see small ice crystals forming on my eyelashes. The ice then became a shell. I used every last bit of energy I had to break through the ice, and even though it took a tremendous amount of will, the ice broke easily and shattered like glass around me, spreading shards both close to me, as well as piercing a few trees nearby with their quick speed. I could feel a power raging through my body as I stood up from the ground, the world no longer cold around me, The rain had let up and let me easily find the ring I had been looking for moments before. It was now in a thin veil of ice as I was able to rub away this with my thumb and pointer finger holding it still. There we go. As though it had never been melted, the ice grew back as I felt the tears come to my eyes again. Surprised with this evolution, I allowed myself to feel all the anguish I was suppressing to completely freeze the ring in a block of ice rather than a thin sheet. This indeed was an ability I had now, huh? But for what purpose? What was my purpose? At last, I shouted to the sky, falling to my knees in a pile of leaves, letting out a wailing why. No longer cautious of being heard by the guards, I allowed myself one scream, but I insisted the remainder of my tears were in silence. I could feel them on my cheeks, forcing me to quickly wipe them away. The ring now sat completely frozen in a cube of ice the size of a pumpkin before me. I took a second to take in my situation, letting out a deep sigh, trying not to let the remainder of my energy escape me. I looked again at the block of ice enveloping the ring. Can I even unfreeze this thing? I whispered to myself. Why would you even want to? A small but confident female voice responded. New character! I jolted back against the tree, forgetting my footing and trying to look for the source of the voice. Suddenly, a short girl appeared before me. One hand set upon her hip, the other down by her side. Her blonde twin tails moved like ribbons in the wind, and I couldn't tell if her red eyes were looking at me with compassion or simply judgment. Her black and red dress was decorated with many white ruffles and moved delicately in the wind. I had just discovered I could form ice with my hands, and I still felt as though her gaze were far more frigid. She didn't seem like she wanted to turn me into anyone, though, so I met her gaze. I think so. I think this is also Rachel.
That's Rachel.
This is absolutely Rachel. She said twin tails, red eye.
The black and red dress.
There is no way this isn't Rachel.
Yeah. The observer to tie it all together, of course.
I want to point out, I love that, like, the moment this girl realized that she had, like, these ice powers and, like, froze the ring, her response was essentially, oh, this is a thing I can do. Neat.
Yeah, just this is, I can do this now.
We were going to get Disney
like, this just so casually accepted this. It's like, oh, hey, I have ice power now. Cool. Yes. Anyway, why?
Why? She didn't seem like she wanted to turn me into anyone, though, so I met her gaze. To be honest, I'm not sure, I said, looking down at the ring. I picked up the cube of ice and allowed the piece to defrost in my hands. The block quickly melted in my hands, the dripping water flowed between my fingers and fell to the ground between my feet, leaving me with the golden ring completely defrosted. As the girl took 2 steps closer to me and extended a hand out, as though she wanted to see it, saying, "If I may," her accent accentuating her soft-spoken voice. I handed her the ring, feeling tension from my shoulders release as though a monstrous weight had been lifted from them. Yeah, I think that's right. The ring wasn't as extraordinary as you'd think an engagement ring to a princess would be, especially considering that if Prince Justinen's plan really was to kill my brother, the ring would have been meant for the potential queen. There was something magical about the moment I received it, though, and thought everything was real, but the facade was over now. The illusion of naive love had worn off, and I could see everything clearly for what it was. The ring had no magic before I gave it to the girl, but in her hands I could see it transform. The leaves around us began spinning at her ankles as she closed her eyes, looking up to the sky. Just like that, it began to glow, morphing into a silver band with multiple sapphires merging into one singular gem at the center of what looked to be a singularly, delicately crafted snowflake. My dress's skirt brushed past my fingers, sticking to my frosted fingertips. I looked down at my hands, my nails now looking like icicles, but I no longer felt the cold. It just felt like a slight chill, but nowhere near as extreme as the sensation had only moments before. "Give me your hand," she said, reaching out her hand. It barely stuck out of her large bell sleeve, lined with the most delicate white lace I had ever seen. I reached out to receive it and watched as her delicate fingertips placed it on my palm. "Well then," she said impatiently as I examined the ring. "What are you waiting for? Put it on," she urged through her prim composure, never leaving her. She urged though her prim composure, never leaving her. I put the ring on my right hand, hoping the ring would still fit just as snug. It fit just as well as I could have hoped, all things considered. The new sapphire glistened in the starlight and almost had a glowing aura around it that could simply be blamed on the moonlight. "Well then, Princess Caris of Congoladia," she said, snapping me back to the reality of the situation I was in. "If I could offer you the opportunity to escape the situation you're in, would you take it?" her words sounding so innocent and sweet and tempting, though resembling a monkey's paw. Listen, I'm trying my best, Zombie.
You know what I'm thinking, right? You know what I'm thinking?
What?
I think I know what you're thinking too.
What are you thinking? Are we married to Rachel now?
No, it's just
if you had the chance to...
Yes, I did.
If you had the chance to change your fate, would you?
Oh my god.
I mean, that's basically what it is.
We all thought the same thing. It was so funny. Just, you didn't even say it in the accent, but just Rachel's question had all three of us share the same brain cell in that one moment, and we just all imagined Rachel just going, "You had the chance to change your fate, would ya?"
Oh, you know she would too. She would definitely turn your mom into a bear.
Oh my god, it was so perfect.
Rachel is introducing us to the new sick DLC character right now.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm getting from this story.
I could no longer keep myself standing and felt my knees go weak. I fell to the forest floor below me and looked at my palms that, though were spotless aside from a few splinters, felt as though they were now covered in my own brother's blood. In that moment of panic, I hadn't gone to search for anyone to report what I had seen to. I'd gotten so frightened of the idea of what Justin N had said. Sorry, the name Justin N is fucking wild. Had said that he had done and that only fled the crime. I struggle with that one, man. I had not assisted my brother in any way, and I had merely fled the kingdom, a coward. I was not fit to rule the kingdom in my brother's place, and I never even thought it would come to time for his death to be a reality anyway. I couldn't go back to my home, I couldn't go back to my family. I needed to flee the kingdom and get as far away from my current location as possible. I closed my eyes, no longer able to look at my hands. Not sure if it would be fair for me to return to the kingdom and die for the life of my brother, I said in a quiet whisper. I either live for his memory or die a cowardice. Then rise from your knees, she said, as though completely ignoring the sincerity of my words. Sincerity and emotion of my words. I've heard all I need to, and am ready to offer you a solution to your problem. I got up, gathering my dress around me and dropping... I got up, gathering the dress from around me and dropping it to the floor. Okay, so I guess you just picked up her skirt and, like, let it fall back down. Okay. I adjusted the knife holster around my left leg, and wiped the remaining tears from my arm. With my arm. If you come with me, the girl said, reaching out her hand to me, I will assure you the justice of your brother. But in return, I will need your assistance with a mission. I took a moment to think. My brain had already been processing a million questions and probabilities, but with none of my own options sounding like good ideas. In one evening I had witnessed murder, magic, and now this mysterious girl. I was no longer the same girl who had thought she had fallen in love with the man who would eventually murder my brother. My heart now felt cold, frosted, and broken with shards that could only fit together with the assistance from the ice that now flowed through my body. I believe you are a fighter. She blinked slowly, sounding rather prissy still, and I'm in need of a very good fighter. I was trained by my brother. I spoke from my trust as I fought back any more tears. If he had a sword by his side tonight, I said, becoming aware of the holsters on my own thighs, Edmund would still be alive. He was an amazing swordsman, and he trained me with dual wielding as soon as he outgrew his daggers. Father gifted him a sword. If it was time for me to use the skills he had taught me, then now's the time. There'd never be a better occasion for it. I'll go with you, I said, reaching out my hand to meet hers. I knew whatever commenced from here onward would either be a testament to my brother's legacy, or be the reason I continued on in shame. There were only two sides on the coin of fate I flipped above me, and I was at its whim. There was no escaping the fate I was about to encounter. And that's the end of chapter 1.
Okay, I gotta say, this is even though, like, I have to remember myself, this is apparently a BBTAG fanfiction thing.
I know!
Just by itself, like, this feels like the perfect, like opening to some sort of, like, original story of some kind. Honestly, like, this is a very good, like, beginning to a novel or a story of some kind, and I applaud them for the well written like opening to, like, draw me in right off the bat. It's very well done.
I agree. Ragna the BaddieEdge, right out of the game.
This character, if she's in the game, like, she sounds cool.
She sounds dope as hell. I agree.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
Yeah,
I had an
this
even
is
worse
great.
thought while I was listening to you.
Oh. Ragna and the main character do not have a good first encounter. Whenever Ragna hears the rules of what the game is, he does not agree with them. So basically what happened is he was transported from his world as well to this room, but he wasn't given a deal like Rachel was. Like, he just showed up there. And so he's super pissed off, and he immediately tries to kill the main character.
Well, that's not fun.
And then the game master is like, so here's how this works. There's a tournament, like a big fighting tournament, and you've been allotted to a team. You've been assigned to a team, and you have to keep both members of your team alive. If one member of your team dies, the both of you die. So you have to keep both of you alive.
Oh no! That's so it sucks.
So you have to keep both people alive in order to win the tournament. And if they win the tournament, they'll be allowed to go back to their worlds and change something about their reality.
Oh wow!
That's a cool asset.
That's actually a really cool one.
But if they die in this game, they're dead. Like, they're KO'd. They're like, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Oh no, not the Thanos treatment.
They're dead from their universe as well. Like, they're gone skis.
Oh,
Of the person gone too. Like, they're just gone from existence.
Yeah,
you're apparently dead in every form and concept if you die in this one singular tournament.
Yeah, if you die, you're actually dead. Oh, and if your partner dies, you also die. So you are responsible for keeping your partner alive. Otherwise, you also die.
Like, I call dibs on Adachi being my partner in this.
Hero is absolutely right. People die if they're killed. Okay, also, in the first chapter, end of the first chapter, they encounter their first fight. I'm not gonna tell you who their first fight is, and see if you guys can figure it out, because it's summarized in the second part. It's summarized in the third chapter as well. Okay, so here is chapter 3. This one is titled Hell's Fang. Ragna walked away from the rubble, letting out a disgruntled huff and retracting his scythe to its original state as a sword. He made his way to the scene of the battle and walked through the grass towards the sidewalk where a railing blocked off the entrance to the river below. Assuming this was some sort of cue, I followed him. The blue and red lights from the city behind him created a halo around his hair that caused a few rainbows to form in his white strands. Listen, he said, looking down at me before immediately glancing away to the city across the river. The light sparkled in his eyes as he took a moment to collect his thoughts before letting out a short and punchy sigh. So maybe it's time we start reconsidering this whole team thing, he said, sounding both determined and defeated. He apparently didn't remember holding a knife to my neck or threatening my life, and I had most definitely not forgotten that. But still, he looked me in the eye, lips slightly pursed together and jaw clenched. Yeah, Ragna tried killing her in the first chapter.
I boo.
Privileged character.
Yeah, Ragna had tried killing.
I have to remember that.
Then I remembered what the game master had told us. Your partners are assigned to you. If they die, you admit defeat as well, since they are an extension of you and your power in this tournament. As much as I wanted to leave this rude piece of work, if someone killed them, I would be out of the game and have no chance of getting back to my own world to avenge my brother. I needed to protect this jerk to make sure he didn't cost me my chance at redemption. So they don't like each other.
Well, I mean, if your first impression meeting somebody is them immediately like nearly killing you with a knife to your neck, I can't imagine you'd be fond of them for a while.
This is fanfic. They're kissing in the end.
I don't. But buddy, I haven't forgotten that the person who wrote this is named Ragna the BaddieEdge, so I'm 1,000% preparing this to become like a from enemies to lovers deal out of nowhere.
It's gonna be fine.
The melon soda.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh,
No,
the melon
no.
soda from fucking Amnesia Memories.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, man, I forgot about that.
Okay. Well, without missing a beat, Ragna grabbed my shoulder from behind me and with a firm grasp directed my attention to turn to look at him without any words. Starting in a rough voice. Oh wait, I missed the part, sorry. I'll go with you, I said, looking away as his gaze was just about to refocus on mine. I turned and looked at the damage behind us. Both of our opponents laid face down into the grass, laying next to giant patches of scorched earth surrounded by sections of frozen grass blades. But I think it would be a good idea for us to come up with a better plan.
Okay, so we know 9 is 1. Frozen grass blades could be like 3 characters. We got Jin, we've got Mitsuru, we got Weiss. It's not gonna be Yumi because she wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
These would be 1.0. Or just like the characters that were in the trailer, I guess.
Yeah.
Jin, more than likely.
Most
Jin
likely.
might be good,
I can't wait for brother. I can't wait for it.
We should be killing each
We should be killing each other.
Oh my gosh, if Ragna the BaddieEdge and Ginny Kisaragi had a collaboration, maybe. Ragna looked down, then up, as he said. That's why I think you should be the one calling the shots in the fights. As though he realized he was touching me, he removed his hand from my shoulder and shook it before putting it down at his side.
There it is.
Oh?
There's the tension.
I said, utterly shocked.
There it is.
all you
he
need.
spotted it.
The tension is there. Oh, I asked, utterly shocked that the man who just moments prior had called me a dumbass for not dodging a grab from a man with huge metal claws for hands was now allowing me to be the one in charge.
That's a wall.
Yeah, Wallstein definitely.
It's gotta be Waldstein,
He
right?
calls me a dumbass too, all the time.
It's either that or it's Tager, and I'm pretty sure Ragna would have said something about it being Tager, right?
I think because he specifically said claws makes me think it was Wallstein.
Big meaty
Yeah.
claws.
I got all my clips from the Mean Maid stream. Thanks, Winsky.
Oh, God.
Let me see. Oh, I asked, utterly shocked that the man who just moments prior... Oh, wait, I read that part. Okay. It's about time we see eye to eye, I said with a snarky grin. Taking a shift back. I guess that's supposed to be saying a step back. Taking a step back and shifting my weight from one leg to the other while crossing my arms. But don't you think for a second that you can run away from me and get yourself killed out there, he said, holding his head in his hand as though he were physically in pain. From right now onward, you and I are a team. I can't let you die and ruin my chances of getting out of here. I turned around to look at his eyes, once again holding a fire within them. I don't like the idea of teaming up, Ragna said, walking closer to me slowly, with a raging expression emanating from him. But as far as teammates go, he said, looking down at me, his red and green eyes... Well, how did it go? Where did it go? His red and green eyes looking around my face as though he were scanning it before finishing it with, "You're mine, damn it."
What?
There it is, bro.
What? Escalation.
That did escalate. I struggled not letting him see me gulp. The tension was far thicker than comfortable. The space between us didn't grow as he waited for a verbal response.
Next to each other there? I don't like that.
His chest only a few inches away from mine. Oh, only a few inches away from my face. Sorry. Okay, so I guess she's pretty short. Things would be going, Things would be going rather differently if we weren't forced to be a team, though. I reminded him, not moving an inch, just to let him know that I didn't exactly like the idea of all this. Yeah, he scoffed, looking down at me, keeping his gaze fixed on mine. For just a moment, as he walked towards the railing once again, and leaning on it, he said, "Need I remind you that if we weren't forced into this together, you'd already be dead?" "You're rather cocky, aren't you?" I asked, wanting to laugh. I restrained myself, but let out a small huff in my words. "Damn right I am."
Okay.
He said as though it was something he were proud of. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if he knew what that meant. As much as I hated this man, he was my only hope out of here. I wasn't gonna let him ruin things for me, more than I already had for myself. I made my place next to him on the railing and leaned forward, putting my weight on my arms, admiring the lights that danced across the rippling water below. both city lights and stars combined to make a painting of iridescent hues on the rippling river. I looked over at him, trying to forget the latter half of what he just said, saying, well, I'll keep that in mind. I suggest we both get over having to be on a team together and just suck it up and get to work so we can get out of here. To my surprise, he snickered under his breath and looked up over at me with a sly grin. I think we might get along just fine, he said as he huffed out his last words, while pushing himself up on the railing he had been leaning on. He walked behind me. I could hear his footsteps stop for a second as they got closer. He leaned behind me. A hot breath hit the back of my neck, sending chills down my spine. Either we get along or we don't make it out, he said, walking towards the scene where our fight had been just moments before. I slowly walked after him and picked up pace whenever I saw what he was looking at. The bodies of both the small girl and the large armed man were now gone. Ragna bent down to look where the outline of the larger body was now scorched into the earth. So I think it's Linnea Waldstein.
That makes sense now. But did he just fucking murder them?
Yeah, they're dead. So, in the fight before this, they did fight. What? Yeah, so they killed them. Like, Ragna and the main character killed them.
Earlier, they were stressing that, like, there is death involved in this, so I can't imagine they would stress on the idea of death and then not just make death happen ever in this story.
Sucks to be a Linnea main, I guess.
Right?
It is what it is, guys.
Linnea out of the game.
Better choose a different character.
I guess the world of Under Night is just forever doomed.
This is actually man. The Nuzlocke.
Somebody just really fucking hated Linnea is what happened.
Right?
Like, they were like, they gotta go. Get him the fuck out of here.
Like, Waldstein, like, one thing, but you just kill off Linnea.
Yeah,
like,
Linnea's dead.
Dang.
Waldstein's also
In Chapter 2, apparently.
Chapter 3. Oh, wait, no, Chapter 2, they died. They disappeared in Chapter 3. Yeah. Their bodies were just there for a little bit.
Their bodies they were there for a minute, and then they despawned.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. We need to get out of here, I said, extending a hand out to him as a peace offering and method for him to get up off the knee he had propped himself up on. He ignored my hand and got up on his own, saying, couldn't agree more. The city up ahead has to have somewhere we can go. Surely not everyone in this world is involved in this dumbass game. There's only one way to find out, I said, walking towards the city with my hands in my pockets. The fabric from my ripped skirt swayed behind me in the calm breeze as our journey continued onward. I fidgeted with my ring on my finger as we continued alongside the river in silence. As we grew closer to the cities, a few bodies lined the streets next to abandoned tasks or personal belongings. The putrid odor of death left their bodies and roamed in the air around their corpses. This did confirm something, though. Those not involved with the tournament won't vanish after dying, I said out loud, still pondering some of the details. I wonder if people involved in this tournament are transported away, or are they actually dead? Well, that'll certainly help after innocent bystanders die, he huffed and slightly sped up his pace. And that's all we're gonna read of Chapter 3. I'm so sorry to leave y'all on such a cliffhanger. I hope you've had as much fun going through this stream with me as I had doing it live as well. If you want to catch any other live content, go follow me on Twitch at church_HB. But if you want to see more of my content over here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe because I do plan on uploading quite a few more things as well as the continuation of this story. So stay tuned for part 2. Until then, have a great rest of your day and take care. Thank y'all. Bye!